So in this video, I want to come clean about something and share that I only eat one actual meal per day. And this goes against a lot of what you're led to believe about eating, 6, 7 meals a day, or you need to eat every couple hours. And I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and not to be an arrogant douche canoe, but you take a guy on the street and I'm in better shape than, let's play conservative and say 95% of men that are walking down the street right now. And I'm doing things in a very unconventional way that most people are, told by social media or things you read not to do. Right. So the reason for me sharing this is a couple things. One, when it comes to your health and fitness, nutrition specifically, and losing weight, I'd also say in life, but we'll keep it health and fitness here. There are really no rules or absolutes. Sure, to lose weight long term, you got to consistently be in a caloric deficit. I also will argue until I'm blue in the face that getting adequate protein in is very important as well. But outside of that, there's very few rules in health and fitness. It's not as black and white as people and companies lead you to believe. Oftentimes they lead you to believe that it's very black and white so they can sell you this product or supplement or whatever the case may be. They're like, carbs are bad, you don't need carbs. Oh, by the way, buy this keto supplement or something, right? And I'm going to share briefly like why I personally do this, and then secondly how we kind of approach this with clients, and give you something to think about, because at the end of the day everybody's lifestyle is different. The path that you take to get from A to B could be very different person to person. It's like, I'm not a world or a traveling expert or a map expert, but I imagine from going to New York City to LA, just pretend every path is the same amount of time. Going from New York to LA, you could go through the northern part of the United States. You could kind of cut across diagonally. You could go down by, Florida, then cut over, right? There's probably hundreds upon hundreds of ways that you could drive from New York City to LA. And it's the same in your health and fitness. If you have two women who both want to lose 40 pounds, the way that they might get to their goal and actually drop the weight could be wildly different compared to their each lifestyle, what they do career-wise, kids, who cooks, where they live, all these preferences and such. So for me, I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and I don't eat this way or have this, habit or routine in place to necessarily have a six pack or to stay lean. I found that that's kind of an added bonus in doing things this way. But for me, I'm such a morning person. I want to be productive. I want to be focused. And I've found at times over the years, and I see it when I'm on vacation or I have family in town or I'm somewhere where there's something for breakfast and I eat a decent sized breakfast or a pretty big lunch, I am literally a POS the rest of the day. I'm tired, I'm lethargic, I'm bloated, I feel like crap, where I'm not going to get the things done that I need to. So my daily routine is I wake up, I do about an hour of work, and then I head to the gym. When I get back from the gym, I'll make myself a pretty big protein shake, usually 50, 60, 70 grams of protein to really build momentum. And I do make sure I get around about 200 grams of protein per day based on my body weight. That's 1 gram per pound. Okay. And then for lunch or around like 1 or 2, I'll maybe have a protein bar that has, 20 to 30 grams of protein. If I'm not super hungry, I'll sometimes just have another shake, 30, 40 grams of protein in right there. And then when I'm done working for the day and I no longer need to be productive, so come 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, depending on the day and what I have going on, then I'll eat a pretty big dinner compared to what most people have for dinner. And compared to what you think is mostly healthy, because I don't eat that much throughout the day, I can have a little bit sloppier, quote unquote, unhealthy dinner and still be fine and be at maintenance level calories. Or if I'm trying to like lean out even a bit more, I can simply be in a caloric deficit. So I'll have, burgers. I'll have a couple places near me that I really like with like steak and rice bowls. I'll have like a big, double steak bowl from Chipotle. There's many different things that I'll order on DoorDash most nights. And I have just found over the years that that's what works best for me. I don't like having to cook, 3 or 4 or 5 different meals or have to remind myself I need to eat, every 3, 4 hours, because I used to try that. I did that in college. And what I found too for me is when I used to read the bodybuilding magazines, and I was told like, oh, you got to eat 6-7 meals a day. You got to meal prep. You got to put everything in Tupperware. Like I tried to live that life, and it just become a huge pain in the ass, number one. And then two, I found myself, I'd eat my first meal for breakfast, 7, 8 o'clock. I'd eat a meal at like 10 or 11. And then, I'd eat something at like 1 or 2, another like, small meal. And by come 2, 3, 4 o'clock, I was absolutely starving. I'd have like the shakes, and I'd typically like fall off my plan because I would like go grab something, go grab McDonald's in college, and order like 3 McChickens off the dollar menu and just completely sabotage it and go way over on calories because it made me hungrier. And that's what I found that personally works best for me. And the thing is, when we bring in a client, everybody's different. This is why their onboarding call with their coach, or we try to figure out, what is the best path for them. You take a woman who's living a bachelorette life, she has no kids, she has a lot of free time, like her path from A to B is going to be different from a mom who, works 50, 60, 70 hours a week, has 3 kiddos under 10, is married, travels a lot for work. Like their paths are going to be two very different paths that they take to ultimately get to where they want to be. Again, what drives results stays the same. Like if they're both trying to lose 40 pounds, they both need to be in a caloric deficit, and they both need to make sure they're trying to get as much adequate protein in each and every day as they consistently can. Those two things are kind of the main rules and our philosophy when it comes into nutrition, because that's been scientifically proven over and over and over again. But outside of like carbs are bad, you need to fast, you need to eat 7-8 meals a day, you have to meal prep, like those are just false beliefs and conditioning that you've been inundated with on social media and things that you read and things that you see on TV. When we bring in a woman and she starts in our program, she might be like, yo, I need to eat 6-7 meals a day. And she's busy. And it's like, that's just a lot of cooking. That's a lot of cleaning. That's a lot of like mental bandwidth. And you're spending like, if you're eating 6-7 meals a day, figure at bare minimum 10-15 minutes a meal. I mean, you're spending like hour and a half, 90 minutes, 120 minutes a day just eating and on food alone, which, when time is our most precious asset, like a lot of women that we work with don't have that kind of time. So when we bring in a woman and we find like what's the most efficient, effective path for them, we'll look at things like, if we have a woman be like, hey, you're trying to lose weight. When you wake up, are you very hungry? And they're like, no, I'm not. But, I've been led to believe that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So I do find time to make myself breakfast. And it's like, if you're trying to lose weight and you're forcing yourself to eat when you're not really hungry, for lack of a better phrase, like that's just actually pretty stupid. So we'll take that one and be like, hey, maybe let's try this. Let's, not eat breakfast because it's not the most important meal of the day. That's a total lie. Because if that were true, I wouldn't be sitting here making a video with a 6-pack and I haven't ate breakfast, I don't think, in years upon years upon years, seriously. So let's break that belief. And I don't say that to be arrogant. I say that to make a point. And with her, it might be like, let's bank your calories for later in the day. Maybe approach similar to mine might make more sense. Now, if we have a woman who, again, is trying to lose 40 pounds, but when she wakes up, she's literally starving. She's like shaking. She's like, I need a little something in my stomach or else I'm very cranky, hangry. I cannot go about my day until I, eat a little something. Well, then for her, it's probably not a good idea to fast, right? So we'll take like a different path with her. This is why it's so important to have something that's tailored specifically to you and have a second set of eyes, and really the power of coaching and doing our program like ours, because we can look at a woman's day-to-day, week-to-week life. We can look at her lifestyle, and through adjustments and trial and error, we can truly find a path, an approach to nutrition that is sustainable, that drives results, that is simple and easy for her to go off and sustain the rest of her life. And she probably wouldn't even realize that was a path, or she would have missed it if she was trying to do this on her own. And we do that time and time again for women, because what happens is it breaks down false beliefs. Like, in the example, we have a woman who continues to eat breakfast and she gets more hungry throughout the day like I do, but she's been told over and over and over again, different things that she reads, things she sees online, that, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, which goes back to the cereal brands 40, 50, 60 years ago. They're kind of pioneered that phrase because they wanted you to eat their cornflakes early in the morning. That's really where it comes from. But the point is like, she thinks that she has to eat breakfast, and we bring in her program. We're like, no, that's not true. And a matter of fact, that's probably not a good path for you. You're trying to lose weight. Why have more calories in the morning than you need to? If you feel fine and you can hold off until like lunch and not really consume anything, that's probably going to be the path that we take because it makes too much sense. So I'll leave you with this, but my point of making this is just to share, what I do personally, because it probably goes against a lot of what you've been told. And I'm living, walking, breathing proof that you can be in amazing shape and do things your own way and play a little bit different game than what you're led to believe. There are no rules. Besides losing weight, you got to be in a caloric deficit long term. Again, I'll argue and argue and argue, and I've seen it time and time again. Protein's very, very important. Making sure you're getting enough protein in, because I tell women, you probably heard me say this, we want to make sure you're not a frail and fragile woman in your 50s, 60s, and 70s and can't carry your own groceries in, or can't lift your grandkids, or walk up a couple flights of stairs and your legs go out. So building muscle, having strength, being able to recover from your daily activity, the only way you can do that is by making sure you're getting enough protein in. And then obviously the way to lose weight is to be in a caloric deficit. Those are the really two black and white, hard and fast rules. And then outside of that, it really depends on the individual. So something to think about in finding what works best for you. There's no rules. Remember, have a very curious, what's the right phrase I'm looking for? Be very cautious with what you read and you hear. And not only what you read and hear, but if you have somebody who says they do things this way, then you think you have to follow them, that might not be the best path. My point of this is with this video, and I probably put 3 or 4 disclaimers in, just because fasting and only eating one actual meal per day works for me, I'm not saying that this is the path for you. Matter of fact, many of the clients that we work with, not too many of them only eat one meal a day like I do. So it isn't like I'm taking my philosophy and just jamming it down their throat and saying, this is the way I do things, this is the way you must do things, because my life is very different. I'm single, I'm in my mid-30s, I don't have any kids, no dog, not even a goldfish. So I can do things a little bit different way. If I was married and had 4 kiddos, my wife probably wouldn't be too happy us, ordering Chipotle for the entire family every single night, right? So I get that, but my lifestyle right now in this season of my life is different, which is probably different than yours. So the path that you take needs to make sense for you. It needs to be sustainable. It needs to be simple and easy for you to follow, or else it will just be a temporary thing. And when we bring in a client, this is ultimately what we're trying to find is like, what's the best path for them to take? What makes sense for their lifestyle? What's going to be easy, simple, predictable, repeatable, long term, because consistency is the name of the game. And if we can check those boxes of which I just laid out, that's probably going to be the long-term path that makes the most sense. So I'll leave you with that. Hopefully this gives you something to think about, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.